What's up, guys? Saf here on SuperSaf Speaks, and welcome to episode number 53 of the podcast with myself, your host, SuperSaf, and my co-host,
Sunday from Border Work.
And you might notice we've got a slightly different setting here. I am not in my studio right now. I am in an Airbnb. I'll show you the makeshift setup that we've got done here. But we couldn't miss an episode this month. It's November, and we've had lots of news and releases. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the Samsung Galaxy S26. There's lots of new leaks and rumors in the lead up. We've covered the S26 Ultra, but we can now focus on the other devices on the S26 series. Then we'll be talking about the OnePlus 15. Now, we've both had it for about a month by the time this video comes out, and there's lots to talk about there as well, especially around performance. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on that. And then we've already started hearing some rumors around the iPhone 18 Pro design. And there's some new potential design cues that we might be having on the upcoming iPhone 18 Pros. So, firstly, let's start with the S26. So the Samsung Galaxy S26, initial rumors were that there will be an S26 Pro, an S26 Edge, and an S26 Ultra. That looks like it's been scrapped. This plan looks like it's been scrapped. The plan looks like it has been scrapped, and that's because the S25 Edge sales were very, very poor, right? So it looks like Samsung's kind of rewinding and going back to the usual formula: S26, S26 Plus, and an S26 Ultra. I mean, the S25 Edge, good phone, slim, but we said this before. It's like, who asked for this phone, right? And the same with the iPhone Air. Who asked for it? Nobody asked for it. It's impressive in terms of the technology, but I just don't see many people buying it. And, I think that's resulted in the sales numbers as well.
I do agree, but I think again, we said this the last time when we talked about the Edge and the Air, is that both Samsung and Apple missed a good opportunity, which Huawei is taking advantage of. I had to sneak this in because Huawei just launched the Air version in China. It's not as thin; it's 6.6 millimeters, but it has a 6400 milliamp battery.
So this is where you're not compromising. That's the thing, isn't it? It's thinner without compromise, and I think that's what the key thing is, and that's what you really want. So it looks like they're rewinding on there. It'll be interesting to see if Apple also kind of takes a step back on the iPhone Air. They probably won't. I think they're probably going to carry on with that, but it looks like Samsung is saying goodbye to the S26 Edge as far as we can see. Now, release dates for the new Samsung Galaxy S series, we thought it's going to be around January time. Then there was some rumors that it's going to be pushed back to February, right? And I think we spoke about this. But now the most recent rumors that we're seeing is that it's going back to Jan. So it's been yo-yoing, right? Maybe because they're like, okay, we're not going to do the Edge anymore, so we can, push things back and stick to our regular formula. Well, late Jan is when the Unpacked event is going to be, with the release following shortly after. So that's pretty good that we're back on track.
Yeah, I think Samsung was going through a slight crisis just because, which most people probably don't recognize, is Winter Olympics is this year. And Winter Olympics is February 2nd, and ends on like the 20th. So Samsung was probably trying to walk around that. And they moved it to, the rumors of moving it to the 25th makes sense, except MWC starts that weekend. And Samsung typically hosts its Unpacked event for the Galaxy S series in the San Jose area in the US. And MWC is in Barcelona, all over
Other side of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels like it becomes a scheduling nightmare, which I think for them makes sense to be the end of January, because you can flow into the Olympics, use the Olympics as advertising, all the athletes are getting the Olympic version like they usually do, which would make more sense, at least for me, in that regard, than pushing it all the way to MWC.
I agree. And, at least for us, the schedule is kind of back to what we thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
Now, thank God. Now, looking at the design, so it looks like they are adopting this camera island design that we also saw on the leaks of the S26 Ultra. A lot of these leaks come from On Leaks and Android headlines. So these are reputable leaks. And it's kind of like not a complete redesign, but a bit of an evolution of the current design that we have. One key thing that we do notice here is that some of these new leaked renders, we have an orange version. I wonder where that came from.
Yeah.
Mine is covered right now.
Is that an orange phone, by the way?
This, maybe it came from this, I don't know. But it kind of looks like since Apple has done the orange iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, a lot of manufacturers are now thinking, hey, this is a nice new color. Let's explore it as well. So it looks like we might be getting an orange color here as well.
I'm fine with like you and I know this. I like the orange iPhone. I like the color. I like the boldness of just going with that color. And I'm happy for manufacturers like Samsung to adopt the boldness of going with bold colors, not boldness of going with the same color. That's completely different. So, hopefully that was a one-off mistake or something, or who knows? Maybe it's not really orange. Maybe it's more like cherry red. I don't know. I'm just making some colors up at this point. Or who knows what's
He's
gonna
trying to
happen?
defend it. It's going to look a very similar shade, or it's going to be slightly different. Obviously, they're going to name it something different,
Yeah.
or maybe they won't. Because remember when it came to titanium, so we had Apple who released titanium. They called each of their colors titanium, so it was like titanium silver, titanium this, right? And then Samsung kind of just flipped it and then just called it silver titanium, blue titanium, and whatever. So
Uh-huh.
we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. One of the other interesting rumors is that we might have a dual chipset situation like we've had in previous Samsung Galaxy S devices. So there might be certain regions that will have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, and others will have Samsung Exynos 2600 chip. So for the past few years, Samsung has been consistent. They've stuck with the Snapdragon for all versions, but it looks like this year they might be going back to that split based on regions. Now, I've got no hate on Exynos. I know lots of people do have that. I just prefer consistency because if I'm testing a version in the UK and a lot of my viewers are watching the video in the US where there's a different chip version, then they're not really getting the exact experience that I'm going to be talking about. So that's my issue with that. What do you think?
I agree with that. And I think there are two things to that. Number one, there's probably contracts with Qualcomm that they would have to still at least stick with Qualcomm for a while. Number two, there's the hate of Exynos in the past where we've always seen lesser performance numbers. Now, the rumors, and I just have to state this as the rumors of the benchmark numbers for the Exynos 2600 is downright impressive. You're looking at a single core score that has been reported at 4,217. Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 has not come close to that. And a multi-core score of 13,482. So basically, this is better than we're currently A19, right? On the iPhone or A18. I can't remember.
A19 Pro.
A19 Pro. It's better than A19 Pro. It's better than Snapdragon. It's better than MediaTek. And it matches Apple's M5.
Ooh.
That is very impressive. This is a 2-nanometer chipset. So if that's the case, I would like to have this chip on all devices, like Saf said, give this to me on everything possible across regions as well, so that we know, okay, Saf is not getting the better phone than I am, because that's literally what's going to happen. Because the UK will probably get the Exynos, and I'll be like, yo, Saf, can you buy that for me, please?
Yeah, well, that's what we used to do before. So you could do an Exynos versus a Snapdragon comparison. You know what's interesting? I mean, I still stick to that fact that I think consistency is important across all markets because we are in an international market right now. But what will be interesting is, how we've usually had the anti-Exynos crowd. Will they switch and be like, you know what? Usually, traditionally, it's always been the case. I want the Snapdragon version, right? That's what we normally hear on our videos, on our comments. People are like, I want the Snapdragon version when there has been a Snapdragon and Exynos version. Maybe for the S26 series, people will be like, I want the Exynos version.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to see a switch.
But that's an interesting part, because here's the funny part is that you remember how was it last year or 2 years ago where it was like, okay, the Exynos chipset will go on the S20, the base base model, the S26, the S25, and then the Qualcomm goes on the Ultra. If that happens, for whatever
Then,
reason,
the base models will be faster, essentially.
yeah,
We're not taking cooling and all of those things. Obviously the Ultra version will have a larger vapor chamber. But we're talking just like raw performance.
for months, yeah.
This is all right. Let's see what they do. I mean, Samsung, the ball's in your court. Let's see what you guys come up with and how you balance this. Maybe they will underclock. So you know how they have
Probably.
the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. They'll have an Exynos 2600 for Galaxy, which is like slightly underclocked to match it. I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right. There's some other good news as well. So there's two reliable tipsters, Ice Universe and Jukan, have confirmed that the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra at least will support 60-watt wide and 25-watt wireless charging, and may also have Qi 2.2 with potentially built-in magnets. Now, this also means that the S26 Plus at least should also get something similar. Whether that's going to come to the S26, we'll have to see. But there are rumors that all of the devices, the S26, the S26 Plus, as well as the S26 Ultra, will have faster charging speeds, which we've been asking for ages.
Yes, I'm glad to. I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see at least 60 watts. Now I'm pushing. I'm pushing it again because the last time I think I said 60 or 65 would be nice.
Yeah.
If you could just give me 80, I don't need 120. I just need 80 next.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I mean, it's still not going to be anywhere near the OnePlus 15, which has 120-watt charging, right?
Yes, yeah.
And it comes with the charger out of the box in some regions. I believe it comes with the charger in the box in the US. But this is the thing, like Samsung has been really falling behind the competition. And in terms of the myth that faster charging decreases your lifespan of the battery, that's kind of been debunked. There's a YouTuber who actually did a 2-year test,
Yes, I
which is
saw that.
crazy.
I saw
You
that
saw that?
video. Yeah.
Great channel, by the way. Shout out. I was like, you know what, dude, that's a lot of time and effort. And that proved that, and it was a comprehensive test, and it proved that faster charging does not have a significant enough impact on the battery lifespan. So based on that, it's like, no excuses now, Samsung. We need faster charging. That's what the competition is offering, and we really need that here with the Galaxy S series especially. So let's see what they do with the charging there. I would definitely like to have magnets built in like Google has done. So then that way you don't necessarily have to have a particular case or anything. It just snaps on to all the accessories.
No, I agree. And I think, with faster charging, also larger battery size, which there's rumor it might be going up to 5,400 for the Ultra.
Okay.
Actually helps with your battery life, because if you have a faster charging and a bigger battery, less charging cycles you will run through because you have more battery to use. It's that simple. And you can use your battery all the way down, because what usually happens for most people is once you get close to 50%, not even 50, like 60%, you're looking for a charger somewhere. You're like, oh, okay, I got to. When you know that you can run it down to honestly 10, and then in 10 minutes, you're back up again, right? That's it.
This is the thing. So that's another thing that we're hoping for, and it's looking exciting. I think the final rumor that we've kind of seen, and this comes from Mice Universe as well, is that the hole punch for at least the S26 Ultra is going to be larger compared to the S25 Ultra. Now, that will potentially mean that it's going to have a wider angular view. And I wonder if Samsung is trying to do what Apple did with their center stage selfie cameras on the iPhone series, right? Where you can shoot both landscape and portrait images without having to rotate your phone. Now, having that larger punch out would potentially allow for that if you've got a wider angular view, which means you can capture more. So I don't know. This one we'll have to wait and see for. There's not been too much around it. I personally don't mind a slightly larger punch out if it's going to give me better selfies. But this is something that's currently rumored for the S26 Ultra. We've not really heard anything on the S26 and the S26 Plus's front-facing cameras.
No, we'll just have to wait and see.
We will. Right. OnePlus 15. We've both been using this device for around about a month now. And this thing is an absolute spec beast. Like, this is one of the fastest smartphones in the world. OnePlus have really just stacked this up. We've got the world's first 1.5K 165 hertz display. It's one of the first devices powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 in India, Europe, and North America. It's got a triple chip setup, which we'll talk about in a little bit, a massive 7,300 milliamp hour silicon nanostack battery. I mean, this thing is absolutely stacked. And it's got a new design as well. So OnePlus are calling this a 2-generation upgrade. We'll start off with the design. I mean, personally, I quite like it. It's simple. It's not like something crazy or fancy. They've kind of gone away from what they had on the OnePlus 13. Fresh new design, looks exactly like the Oppo Find X9 Pro, right? So literally they look like twins. Obviously, Oppo and OnePlus, they are from the same company. So we do see that crossover there. But I wonder, have you tried putting a case of of the Oppo Find X9 Pro onto the OnePlus 15? You're doing that right now. Okay, here's a live test. Does it work? Or have they just moved some buttons slightly so it will?
Yes. So the sorry, what do you call it again? The mute button is basically blocked on the side here. This side here is fully open, so you can access those buttons. And then the camera cutout is basically larger on the Oppo compared to the OnePlus.
Interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
they changed it just enough. So it's one of those, can I copy your home button? Yeah, sure. Just change it enough so people, can't tell that you copied. And it's like, yeah, sure. Here you go.
Yeah.
So
But side by
that's pretty
side,
much what happened.
this is what the phones look like.
Yeah. But I don't know. I like the design. The colors as well. Like, we've got the sandstorm, we've got the ultraviolet, we've got the infinite black. The infinite black is the most interesting because it's resists fingerprints. And I also thought that I was like, this is getting scratched up very easily, but all of those scratches just rub off straight away, which is really
Oh,
interesting.
nice. Nice.
And it's also, I mean, they've gone for all of the IP ratings. Like, it's just like, it's kind of like if they were asking OnePlus, which IP rating would you like for the OnePlus 15? And the answer was yes,
Yeah.
because it's got IP55, IP 60, 66, 68, 69, 69K. Half of these, I don't even know what they are, right?
If
All
you
it means,
got an IP, we will take it.
yeah, it's like, just give us all, which IPs, all of them. Give us all the IPs that you have, right? So you can put it into water for 2 meters, up from 1.5, and it can also resist high pressure as well as hot liquid resistance as well. So pretty good on the design side of things, I would say. Obviously, design is subjective, but the key thing, Ian, this is something that I'm very interested to hear your opinion on, is the performance, right? So it's one of the first smartphones in the world with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. It's also one of the first devices in the world with LPDDR5X Ultra Prep. I can't even say it. That's how crazy this is. LPDDR5X Ultra Plus RAM. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
16 gigabytes of that, 360 cryo velocity cooling, 5,731 millimeters squared vapor chamber. Right, triple chip setup. So they've got the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, a dedicated touch response chip, as well as an advanced Wi-Fi chip. Now, in my experience of using this for performance, it's been absolutely crazy. Like, it's one of the fastest smartphones in the world. What do you think?
I mean, for performance, I'm showing you guys the Geek benchmark scores here. It absolutely cakes. 3,596 single core, 10,136 multi-core GPU scores are 24,000. It's up there. I have a video that is going live now as we are recording, and it's basically a Snapdragon versus MediaTek. It basically Oppo versus the OnePlus, because it's a very
Okay.
easy and almost equally balanced comparison.
Yeah.
Gaming performance is great, and one thing is they did mention that it does, the display, it goes up to 165 hertz, which means you can get up to 165 frames per second in certain games. One of them is Call of Duty Mobile, not a graphically
Yeah.
intensive game, yes, but it does that flawlessly and smooth. Now, the one thing I I noticed while gaming is my temperature did not go past 102, which is very, very low for the amount of gaming I played. And then we'll get to battery life in a second. I can just tell you, if you're gaming with battery life on this thing and you're concerned about charging it and then using it for the rest of the day, throw those concerns away. Just
So
let it go.
firstly, let me just convert the Fahrenheit. 102 is 39 degrees Celsius. So sorry,
Sorry.
I have to do that.
My bad, 39.
I mean, so there you go. From a performance standpoint, this is an absolute beast. The display, 6.78 inches. The bezels are tiny, right?
Mhm.
Uniform bezels all around. And it's the world's first 1.5K 165 hertz display. That's what OnePlus told me. That yes, we've had 1080p displays that go up to 165 hertz, but this is the first at 1.5K. So amazing. It can also go all the way down to 0.5 nits with PWM dimming at 2160 hertz. Not quite the dimming that we've got on Honor devices, but still pretty good. Um, Connectivity, I've not really had any issues with because we've got Wi-Fi 7, so it's 50% faster with OnePlus's dedicated Wi-Fi chip. Bluetooth 6.0, like honestly, they just went all out on this. Now, some of the things I want to we know it's got great performance, right? So the OS, so we've got Oxygen OS 16 based on Android 16. I like Oxygen OS, right? Fast and smooth, everything is clean. The one thing that I will say is that we've got 4 years of OS updates and 6 years of security updates, which is respectable, but it's not at the level of the competition. Right now, Google, Samsung, and Honor are offering 7 years of OS and security updates. So this kind of lags a little bit behind there. So that's a little bit of a negative. We've got Mindspace, the AI, OnePlus has a big emphasis on this. It it does work and it's pretty cool. Um, I would have liked to have seen maybe more generative AI, which I think I do like in some of the newer devices. Seeing things that I would use a little bit more, some more generative AI. Software wise, what we say?
It's cool. Like, software is smooth. As you talking about software, I was just kind of like playing around with it again, and it's very smooth. I think OnePlus has done a good job making Oxygen feel fluid, and it is fast. Like, you see the videos where people open and closing apps or opening and just switching apps. It is super fast and fluid. So that, the combination of the processor, the display, the software itself feels very natural on this device. Um, I think they've done a good job. It kind of reminds me of Pixel OS in a sense, and I'm not a fan of Pixel OS in terms of maybe the smoothness there, but it has its own identity, which I like. So I think it's solid, and they've done a really good job.
Now, battery, you mentioned the battery. So 7,300 milliamp hour silicon nanostack battery, right? The battery life, let me just tell you, is amazing on here. There's been a battery life test that people have been sharing where it only did like 40 minutes more than the iPhone. And I'm like, you know what? Put these battery tests away because a lot of these battery tests, the people who test them are not doing it properly. If you want to see a battery test, I'm going to wait for Phone Buff's battery test because he's the one who actually tests things in a real world situation, right? But what I can tell you from personal experience is that the battery life has been excellent on the OnePlus 15. I think this is easily, even with heavy use, a full day phone, maybe even up to 1.5 days. For some people, it's going to easily be a 2-day phone.
Yeah. For me, I'll give you my battery tip. And I'll combine this technically with the Oppo, just because I
Yep.
was shooting with both of them when I was in Mexico. Doing a lot of camera comparison shooting, just a lot of some fun stuff. Battery life while shooting photos and videos was a day and a half.
There you go.
Now, in terms of like regular use, I would say the Oppo will probably lead it by maybe 30 minutes to an hour. I was able to use the Oppo for 2 days with a SIM card, going on social apps and all that stuff for roughly 2 days. And I just felt like I should charge because it just looked like it wasn't going anywhere at all. Same
It's
thing,
like
same
I was just
thing,
charged for the sake of it.
same thing with the OnePlus. Now, gaming, in terms of gaming battery life, 100%, I played for an hour. It dropped from 100 to 93 on the
There you
OnePlus.
go. There you go. So this is the thing. If you see battery tests, look at them properly, see how they're testing it. If they're literally just doing, oh, we're going to play games for an hour, then we're going to put the camera on for an hour. And it's just like once one phone is dead, you're then doing a completely separate task, which this other phone hasn't even been able to do. And then
Yeah.
you're basically, it's honestly so annoying. And then people are like, oh yeah, the battery life is not that good. It's like, you know what, just sit back down. Just sit back down. You don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, but you've got 120 watts of supervoot charging. So that's 100% charge in 39 minutes. Now, that is faster than most competitors that have smaller batteries, right? So remember, this is going from 0 to 100% in around 40 minutes. Now, it's usually a little bit more, but still, it's filling up that massive 7,300 milliamp hour battery. It's a dual cell battery, so it's split in two. That's one of the reasons why they can get it done so fast, because it's essentially charging both of them at 60 watts each, right? But it can do that in 40 minutes. That's really good. Now, having said that, remember the charger is included in certain regions. It's not included in the box in the UK. It is included in the US, I believe, right?
Yeah, it is. It is included.
Something to keep in mind, again, not the end of the world, not a big deal. 50 watts of AirVoot charging. Battery life, battery charging, amazing. Now, we've been singing a lot of praises for the OnePlus 15. Now, it's not perfect, okay? So let's talk about the cameras. And that's one area where I would say that the cameras are good, not amazing. They're not really going to be on the level of, say, the Vivo X300 Pro, which has amazing cameras. They're not even going to be as good as the Oppo Find X9 Pro, right? Which I would say
Mhm.
has better cameras. So we've got a triple 50 megapixel camera setup. In some ways, a lot of people are saying it's a bit of a downgrade. The pictures are good. They're sharp. They've got this Detail Max engine thing going on. So you do have, I would say, good detail. I'm not seeing the consistency between the different cameras. So, you know, when you're going from the ultra wide to the primary to the telephoto, I think that's something that they definitely need to work on with software updates. So that's something that I would say it does need a bit of an update. What I did like was the AI zoom. So it does have AI zoom. So you can go in like 100x and it's going to use AI. Doesn't need an internet connection. It's going to be doing that on device and it's going to be processing similar to what we've seen on the likes of the Google Pixels. So it's going to be able to grab detail from places where there isn't detail using AI, which I quite liked.
Yeah, I agree with you with the camera. I think the camera is good. And honestly, I think the some of that narrative has to change. I think maybe on video is of course where almost everybody in Android needs work on in general. But I think the camera is good enough that if you're on vacation, you're taking photos, you're out with friends, you're not going to really be bothered about the camera. It's not going to, it's not, this is not like the OnePlus. Was it like the 10 or 11 where you're like, oof, this is rough, right? The camera has improved. Yes, it's not at the level of where Vivo has taken it. And to be fair, Vivo has 3 chipsets tied onto that MediaTek just to get what they're doing on there.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot more expenditure into place. I remember OnePlus is pricing this device slightly less than what you're expecting from, the big boys. So put that in mind.
This is the thing. I think its perspective is important, and that nicely brings us onto the price. Because if you are looking, if you're somebody that I want the best of best cameras, right, then get the Vivo X300 Pro, or get the Oppo Find X9 Pro as well. Has amazing cameras. The OnePlus isn't the device that you're going to be jumping to get for the cameras, right? However, if you want excellent battery life, display, performance, all of these things, then this is a great option for a reasonable price. Now, looking at the pricing, UK pricing, starting price is £849. That's for the 12 gigabytes of RAM with 256 gigabytes of storage. For the 512 gigabytes of storage with 16 gigabytes of that LPDDR5X Ultra Plus RAM, it is £979. However, OnePlus actually have an offer until I think it's the 12th of December, and they are putting that price down to £879. Now, if we compare that to, say, the Oppo Find X9 Pro, which starts at £1,100, I mean, that is quite a saving, and especially because you are getting the larger storage version with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I believe in the US, it's $899 for the 256 and $999 for the 512.
Yes. And also bear in mind, and I think we have to put this in some weird perspective, even though it's not technically the case. This is the base OnePlus, not a Ultra, a Pro, a Plus, or anything like that. compared to everybody else, whether it's a Vivo, whether it's a Samsung, whether it's even Apple. If you compare this OnePlus, if you took the OnePlus 15 compared to the Vivo 300, the Galaxy S25, the iPhone 17, this is a better device.
Well, this is the thing. I think normally people will be like, let's compare it to the big boys. No, you should be comparing this, like, literally the price is £50 more than an iPhone 17, right? Which is $899. So if we're comparing like for like, it's like, yeah, that's more of a comparison. Or if you compare it to, say, the S25 Plus, or when the S26 Plus comes out, that's more of a comparison. If you're comparing it
yeah.
with the Ultras, which are starting at £1,200, or, even 1,300 in some cases, then it's not really fair. And that begs the question, will OnePlus make an Ultra version? I don't think so, but maybe that's what they need to do. They're like, okay, this is the version that we're going for here. This is what ticks all of these boxes. But if you want to spend £200 to £300 more, then you're going to get the cameras. You're going to get the Oppo level of cameras onto this.
I agree with you. I think that's a nice idea. I also feel like maybe OnePlus should actually just make one version of the OnePlus, 16 gigabytes, and take a $100 hit and just put it at $899. Case closed.
Well, they are kind of doing that here in the UK, right? Because they're slashing it by £100, right? So maybe they need to, maybe because they're including the charger, it's like, no, you Americans get the charger included, so we ain't taking any more hits, right? But in the UK, it's like, yeah, you don't get the charger, but $879 is a great deal. And that is why it's actually made one of my top 5 smartphones of 2025. I realize that this podcast is going live after videos live, so there's not going to be any spoilers unless you've not seen it yet.
Yeah.
But, I think it's a great deal. Full disclaimer, I did work with OnePlus on some coverage of the OnePlus 15, and that was an amazing partnership because I was like, you know what, I really like this device. It's really good. So, bring it on. Like, those are the perfect partnerships where you actually really, really like a device and you want to cover it as it is, and then you actually get to do a partnership. So OnePlus 15, great device. We can definitely recommend it. And if you do pick it up before December the 12th, you'll actually get an even better deal on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's definitely worth picking up. And, I like this version of OnePlus. I like the fact that OnePlus is quote unquote taking risk and just giving us something a little bit different.
They're going back to their roots with fast and smooth performance. Now, okay, now people are just going to say I'm getting paid by them, which I was, but this part is not. This is just my honest opinions.
Right.
Anyway. You can send me the check in the mail. Do people still use checks?
Yeah, they do. They do.
In America, they probably do. In the UK, I still can't believe when you're in America, you have to like sign. Like you pay for something in card and then you have to actually get a pen and paper. I was like, what is this? Like, I was so shocked. This is like probably talking 2015. I was like, why do I have a pen? Do they still do that?
Yes.
Man, it's just unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. But anyway, we won't go into me putting down America and some of the things that they do. Let's move on swiftly. iPhone 18 Pro rear design may be changed, and I think that's thanks to us.
We did it.
Our recent video, I mean, it's got like 1.5 million views on YouTube. We were complaining about the silver version and saying that that's the worst color. The two-tone finish is not good. Looks like somebody at Apple was listening and being like, oh, we really I mean, 1.5 million views tells you that, a lot of people were also thinking that. Firstly, we had some rumors that there's going to be a transparent design under its camera island, which I think is very cool. And I'd so be into that, because if you do dismantle an iPhone, it actually looks pretty cool. Like, they have organized things. I actually said this when I was at Apple when they were opening up the iPhone Air. I'm like, you know what? This actually looks really good. Like, you've actually made organized things. It's not just a mess, right? So maybe you should have a transparent version. But now the rumors are that Apple is working on perfectly matching the color of the aluminium with the color of the glass cutter, right? So right now with the orange, you've got a darker orange with slightly lighter. On the blue, it's a bit more matching, but it is slightly lighter blue. On the silver, which looks the worst, once again, you've got silver, and then you've just got a white. That just looks lazy to me. It's like, come on, you didn't even try. You just got like, okay, here, let's just get this white piece of glass and throw it on. Like, come on, like just give us a little bit at least. So it looks like that feedback has been taken on board, and we should be getting color matched glass, which I think is going to make the silver look so much better.
Yes, I will. I agree. I think that Apple has learned from this go around that aesthetics for the iPhone are important, not just from the colors, right? There's another rumor that there's going to be more bold colors coming out in the future because the orange has sold well. Like no matter what, all year I'm talking to you, no matter your campaign saying that the orange is the worst color. Sorry, buddy. Uh,
He's wrong. He's wrong. I literally met
absolutely
him
wrong.
yesterday. Oh yeah, you're wrong.
It looks like Apple is doubling down on that fact. And also, again, making it more seamless. And like you said, making it, when you look at the phone, you're now going, okay, yes, I may not like silver as a color, but you've made it just feel like a very cohesive design. Because that's also a design thing as well. It's like making it cohesive for someone who's buying. I mean, think about it. You're spending upwards of $1,000 and more on a device. You want it to look good. And that's what Apple's always done in the past. Like that's their standard affair. It's like, we will give you premiumly built and designed devices that years later you look at an iPhone or you look at an Apple product, you're like, ooh, okay, all right, yeah, I see why I paid that amount of money. And to me that makes sense. So it's good.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I've always said this, the iPhone 6, 6S were the worst designed iPhones ever, right? With the white antenna lines. I absolutely hated them. And I was like, people were like saying that. I was like, what? It doesn't look good. It doesn't look nice, right? And then after that, they've all been good. Like I really like the designs, even the iPhone 10, 11. I like the designs. They look nice. But then this silver and white thing really threw me off. Now, I'm still going for a black. I'm still hoping, and Apple, if you're watching and listening, give us a black version on the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max. But guys, if you did a transparent version, trust me, that would sell. That would sell so well.
Kill it.
Honestly, it's going to be so like, because remember, you guys make great internals. Like they look really nice. I'd say, it's also, it's beautiful. When there's somebody that's not good looking, they're like, no, it's beautiful on the inside. Well, this will be beautiful both on the outside and the inside, right? And that's why you're going to have that transparency. Now, Nothing's the only kind of company who's really kind of taken that design philosophy of something transparent. And, I think a lot of the devices do really look good because of that. If Apple did that with their iPhones, honestly, they are going to sell like hotcakes.
Here's my take. I think lead designers in Apple basically went out and bought the Meta Ray-Bans, the transparent ones, and said, yeah, like maybe we should actually do this. I think for phone, it even makes better sense than glasses. I think Meta improved what they did on the Gen 2, but it just will kill it. And if you're going to make a black, do what OnePlus did with the black OnePlus 50, like no fingerprints, the scratches are not there. Like, especially if you're going to go back to aluminum on the device, or aluminium, sorry. That's something you should do. So honestly, I think it's great. I think it's a good option for a device that we know, especially if they make those changes, and some of the other changes they're looking to make would be just a huge boom for what the iPhone brings to the table.
Totally. That's all we have time for, guys. And that has been episode number 53 of the podcast. If you guys like it, enjoy it, then please do subscribe to the YouTube channel on SuperSaf Speaks, and do give us a follow and a rating on your favorite podcasting platform. This is Saf on. I can't believe I messed that one up. That's normally your job.
Yeah, no, right.
This is SuperSaf. This is Saf on SuperSaf. You know what? It's the travel and the jet lag.
Oh man.
I've been your host, Saf, I've been your host, SuperSaf, with my co-host, who's laughing. Well, I don't know what reason. I don't know why he's laughing, because this is going to be cut from before. Oh, man.
Thunder E from Border Work.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Dude, it's the jet lag. That's what I'm going to play.